The strongest character and the greatest existential threat in Dragon Ball history would surprise you. I'll discount all the retcon characters like Zeno from Super, but let's just look up to Dragon Ball Z at least, and even including GT arguably. If you look at the original timeline, who's the one that actually ends it, and whose influence is felt? It's Dr. Gero and his creations. Now, yes, he dies in the process, but I'll still give him the benefit of the doubt because he's just an ordinary human being. He doesn't have the benefits of Dragon Balls and Senzu Beans, having Saiyan blood or Namekian blood. He's not an alien, so he doesn't have any of those advantages. He's, for all intents and purposes, just an ordinary human being, right? At one point working with the Red Ribbon Army, or so we are told. We don't actually see him there, but, you know, Goku let him live, right? Spared his life, apparently, when he could have finished him off in Dragon Ball. This is how they explain it. So he's just an ordinary human being working there, and yet he's able to make himself stronger than Frieza and make other beings that are way stronger, like 17 and 18, and of course even Cell. They're even discounting Cell because, oh, he needs all the cells of all these other characters to make Cell, right? For the androids, and even making himself one, all he needs is to understand and watch the movement patterns of these other characters, right? Saiyans, Namekians, etc. So by simply watching their movement patterns, he's able to make beings that are stronger than them. And remember, you might think, well, is he really stronger than Frieza? But he would have to be, because Goku goes Super Saiyan, and he has at least more control over it then, even though he loses because of the antidote situation, the heart virus. That's besides the point. Vegeta also transforms, so the point is you have to go Super Saiyan to beat them, and even though it seems relatively easy for Vegeta, and even Piccolo stronger than Android 20 or Gero himself, the reality is that he is able to make himself that powerful, and the only reason why it's such a dominant one-way fight where the Z Fighters are actually winning is because they were prepared. So you have a Deus Ex Machina of time travel, in addition to having the access to the Dragon Balls all this time, in addition to having Senzu Beans, in addition to being aliens who have, you know, Namekian blood and Saiyan blood, all of these advantages that you have. It still ends up being that the original timeline, without any Deus Ex Machina of time travel, right, ends up being dominated by Gero and his creation. So arguably he could have made himself, right, the same way as Android 20, and that would have been enough to wipe everybody out, because he sort of overshoots. 17 and 18 aren't more powerful than they needed to be. They're way more powerful, because even with the adequate preparation of knowing that this is going to happen because of time travel and having the antidote, the Z Fighters still screw it up, because Goku still suffers from the heart virus, right? He doesn't take the antidote on time, and then they don't destroy Gero's lab, even though they know about it, right, years in advance when Trunks comes back. They don't destroy his lab. They want to embrace the challenge, or they're just morons. So in other words, all they do, the only benefit of Trunks coming back is, you know, Goku still suffers from the heart virus. They don't stop the lab from, you know, creating the androids. So effectively, they just prepare and train extra hard. So assuming that they wouldn't have trained extra hard because they didn't know this was going to happen originally, what happens is that everybody's not nearly prepared enough, and they all die. And so everybody dies, the timeline ends, and it's dominated either by Gero himself, if you want to say he could have made himself strong enough to beat them still, right? That's the strong point. But even though he didn't do that, his creations are still doing it. So the creations of seemingly an ordinary human being with no other external plot device or advantages is able to basically end the original timeline, and everybody dies, and that's it.